we've helped probably 1 million people find a job. When they find what they're looking for, they leave the site, right? It'd be lovely if they were still with us. Like at some point later, I thought, what if whenever anyone found a job all these years, would ask them to mail us their business card when they got it and have like a barrel of business cards of people who got their job through us? That'd be cool, but never did that. So you have regrets, you have mistakes, it's normal.
Please feel free to engage, react.
Yes.
This is not to be a silent conversation. If you feel in something you want to say amen, hallelujah, feel free to. Totally fine. And I will pass it now on to Camille. Let's get into it.
Yay. Well, thanks, Joy. Actually, Ami, before you and I get into a deep and hopefully very meaningful conversation with our closest friends in front of us, I do want to get a sense of where people are coming from. So we're gonna raise our hands. Raise your hand if this applies to you. If you are originally from a different state or country and you're just in New York for work or fun, me. Okay. If you're a born and raised New Yorker, all right, you have a couple. How about if you say you're from New York, but you're actually from New Jersey? Yay. Okay, honest people. I love this room. So I will turn to you, Ami, and welcome to the podcast. You were born in Jerusalem. You spent time in Mexico and Peru, so you've been around the world. And in 1992, you moved to New York City. My first question, because we have a lot of people here who I assume love New York, take us to that day when you arrived in New York. What made you fall in love with the city and what made you call it your home eventually?
So in 91, back in 79, when I was 18, I went through the city for like 3 days. If you guys have seen like Taxi Driver and stuff like that, it was a pretty scary time in the late 70s in the city. I was here alone. I slept in a YMCA near Times Square. I think I paid $12 for the night. That was a long time ago. After 3 days, I sort of got scared and I went off to Paris where my parents had some friends and then never came back. And then in 91, there was an opportunity to come here on a business trip with a friend. So we came for a week. It was the fall. I joked that had it been August, I would probably have not moved to New York, but it was October and the park was gorgeous and I was kicking the leaves in the park. And I had this big idea that I was sort of, how do you get good people around the world together to do good somehow? The web hadn't been invented yet, but I was going to figure this out. And I felt that New York was a place that would be open to big ideas and to new ideas. So I thought, what the hell, I'll just come. So I went back. Took me a few months to pack my stuff and tell people. I think I was 31. I had $2,000 in life savings, no visa, no friends, no contact, no job, but it was going to work out somehow. So I came and I'm still here. So that was that.
I think everybody can relate because, we either work here, we've lived here, but there is something about the city you can't actually explain the energy that the city has. And for some reason, it lets you dream, I don't know, like the biggest dream possible. And it lets you chase that dream. So that happened to me as well. I moved here 12 years ago. I am originally from the Philippines. I was a burnt out corporate lawyer, didn't feel any, sense of purpose. Sorry, I don't know if there are any lawyers in the room, but maybe you can relate or maybe you found your path. But I moved here and I thought, this is the place. I want to live here. I want to, start something fresh in the city. And so speaking of starting something, in 1996, you started Idealist on an old computer, no full-time staff. And for those of you who don't know, Idealist is the leading social impact career site in the US. And in early 2025, Idealist merged with Volunteer Match. So now the platform connects millions of people every year with more than 200,000 organizations in 180 countries. So it's not a question, but it deserves a round of applause for Idealist and what Ami built 30 years ago. That is insane. And so I think in those early days, Ami, when you were starting out and building Idealist, what was the biggest, mistake you regret making?
Oh my God. Start with the mistakes.
Let's start with mistakes.
Maybe starting. No, I think that I was going to do it, obviously. I think I can't point to mistakes at the beginning. I mean, at the beginning, you're just trying, you're doing stuff. Mistakes came later, lots of mistakes. I think the biggest mistakes that we made were driven by scarcity. So if you, also in your lives, if you've been poor, being poor is expensive, right? You guys know what I mean? Like being poor is expensive. And it makes you, as a person, as an organization, it makes you make all kinds of mistakes. So I'll give you an example. We had no money for a long time, very little money. And then we met these two guys in Argentina who were doing something similar. Those of you who know a little bit of Argentina in the last 100 years goes through these like valleys where like it's very cheap and then it gets expensive and cheap and expensive. So it was this moment, it was really cheap. And they say, no, we're doing something similar. We should merge with you. And you guys can open an operation here and it'll be great. So, for $400, you can hire someone a month that would cost you, 10 times that in New York. So we're like, okay, that sounds cool. So we opened an operation in Argentina and hired a bunch of people. And this was before the whole expat thing. This was 20 years ago. We hired Argentines to do our Spanish work. And we hired a bunch of Americans that were traveling there and living there. So you'd call our support number and somebody would pick up in Buenos Aires and you would know. This is 2005, like way before all this. And then after a while, it starts getting expensive again. And here we are saddled with a huge team in Buenos Aires that gets expensive. And I would have never done the whole thing if we had a bit of money, right? So the whole mistake of having this big operation there, I think I went 10 times to Argentina in 2006. I mean, it's crazy sort of life. And the whole thing happened because we had no money. So you make these mistakes that are driven by scarcity. Those, I think, are the biggest mistakes. And then, everyone makes them. You make hiring mistakes. You make, I think, I'll tell you one other one because sort of people in the room. My biggest regret, I guess, is that we don't have a list of all the people that have ever used Ideal and basically found a job for us. We don't have a list of alums. I mean, we've helped probably 1 million people find a job. When they find what they're looking for, they leave the site, right? It'd be lovely if they were still with us. Like at some point later, I thought, what if whenever anyone found a job all these years, would ask them to mail us their business card when they got it and have like a barrel of business cards of people who got their job through us? That'd be cool, but never did that. So you have regrets, you have mistakes. It's normal.
And is there one thing that has stayed the same?
Me? No, I
yes, you.
I never left. We have a bunch of staff that's been here for a while. We have somebody who's been here for 16 years, 15 years. We have a bunch of like long-term staff. I think the dream never changed. The dream of connecting good people with ways to do good, that has never changed. The name, what we do. So yeah, there's some basic things. Hopefully the way we treat each other here, that has never changed. Yeah.
And the mission.
And the mission, yeah, just connecting people.
Has stayed the same.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take a beat, and I will turn to the audience again. By a show of hands, which do you think is harder, breaking into a new industry or reinventing yourself in one? So raise your hand if you say it's for entering a new industry, if you think that's harder. For reinvention, interesting. I think from my experience, I entered a completely, like a really sharp turn, like law to like media. But I found my way sort of, like organically in spaces. I do have to mention that 10 years ago, when I was a grad student, speaking of grad school, I found, some type of announcement that there was going to be an event here. I didn't know anything about Idealist. It was literally random. I sat in one of those chairs, actually in the other room, and guess who sits next to me? Ami. And that was 10 years ago. I didn't know the organizers. I didn't know anybody. And then I spoke to Ami. I was like, what is Idealist? So I started looking into it. And then now 10 years later, we are here doing this interview with all of you. So I feel like it's a full circle moment. But knowing what Idealist does, there are about 50 cause areas on the website for volunteers and for people who are looking for jobs and volunteer opportunities. For people who are trying to figure out, where should I go? Where do you think they should start? What's the first step?
Oh my God. let me think. So before this whole remote revolution, what I used to tell people was that first figure out sort of where you want to live and go there, and then find your job. In other words, and if the two can be together, right? So obviously there in this country, if you want to be an actor, well, go to Hollywood, and if you want to work in cars, go to Detroit, and if you want to work in finance, come to New York, that kind of thing. But in general, situate yourself where you want to be and start sort of building. So what I did, right? I came to New York because I want to be in New York, and then I found my way here, what you did too. So go where you want to be, and then look. I think, some people really have a strong, like, I want to work with the environment, or I want to work only on human rights. Yeah, if that's what drives you, go for it. I think in the end, what's going to make you happy is the quality of your team, your colleagues, the meaning of the work itself. Are you growing? Do you have a mentor? That kind of stuff. And then just to finish that thought, I think that sometimes too often when looking at jobs or comparing jobs, people look at only the salary. And if you even say, what's the package in this country, like they use the word package, the I guess salary and benefits. And it's so much more than that, right? It's like your commute, right? So my wife is a teacher, and she makes, X teaching in a school. And I'm like, and she has a half-hour commute every day. If you could walk 2 blocks instead of commuting for an hour, half an hour, what's that worth to you in money, right? Does the office have sunlight? Are you learning things? Are your colleagues kind? That's all part of the package, And so when considering 2 jobs, maybe make a bit less money, but your colleagues are funny. I mean, that's worth something, right? And so that stuff all becomes important. Anyway, so it's a long answer. It's not, I think, very few people it has to be whales, no dolphins, just whales. It's like, it can be more flexible than that.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's related to my next question, which is, let's say everyone in this room was applying for a job, through one of the opportunities at Idealist or at Idealist. What are 3 things you'd want to know about them?
Oh my God, that I would want to know about them. So I don't know about other employers. For me, I think somebody asked me years ago this question. I still the answer still applies. I think we want to find people who are kind and interesting and make me laugh. That will be awesome. Like if you're kind and interesting, and I think the culture here is very driven, but it's driven outwards. So people don't compete internally. You're driven outwards. There's no really, when I mean it, there's no politics here. It's been really hard to keep it that way. But we have once you build a certain culture, the culture starts developing its own antiviruses. And so here, the tolerance for politics is 0, basically. If someone starts after a day, they're out of here. It's just not going to happen. And so kindness, how you treat each other, laughter, that kind of stuff is important. More than I think a certain specific school you went to, or I've hired a bunch of people without ever looking at their resume. I don't really care. Who are you sitting across from me and know what that paper says?
Yeah. And actually,
this guy, for example, do you have a resume? You do?
Matt, speak up.
Never. It's the first time I've ever asked him, actually. Do you have one? You have one? Can I see it? Okay. I don't.
We're gonna check up with Matt later. But so you talked about those couple of things that you're looking for. Actually, my team is here too. The ones in purple shirts that have been harassing some of you, if not all of you. And they probably don't remember this because we only talk about, or at least I verbalize our company values only when we onboard them, when we onboard our new staff or our new hires.
Yep.
And the 3 things that I tell them are excellence, because we want to produce premium quality podcasts. Kindness is actually one of them, and then integrity. And then everything else, I think we don't talk about it afterwards, because also if you have those core values, the culture also is then you're able to connect that to what the core values are of your people, of the company. And I have to mention this one story in my previous job where I heard the CEO say, I'm in charge of culture. And I have never forgotten that, because I don't think one person should be saying this should be our culture. Like, it's the people, it's the way people interact with each other. It's, whether you're being kind to one another, all of that is important. And then, so I think with you trying to figure out whether these people are a fit, because you said that you have no resume, or you don't look at resumes. Is there like a testing period? Like how, Matt, should we grill Matt? Should we put him on the spot?
Yeah. So he's still, it's been a couple of years. He's still in his testing period. We'll decide tomorrow. No, I've
Sorry,
said that.
Matt.
So I don't want to make it, there are people that I've hired without even seeing the resume. So Matt is an example. I went to I spoke somewhere, and he happened to be the guy in charge of streaming, and the streaming was great. And I was like, who is this guy? So I reached out, and he came to visit, and he's handsome and he's funny. And, so there are these, he has, and so he came over, we talked, and then he told me other things about his life. And I thought, oh my God, you were that guy that did that thing that I read about in the paper. And so I offered him a job, the next day. And so that was an easy one. At least I offered him a 3-month trial period. That's what we agreed on for both of our sakes. And then we decided to prolong it, and then he's still here. Other people, we now have a very rigorous process that we go through with, screening interviews and resumes and stuff. And there's a whole committee and there's a management. Yeah. So I've hired people without seeing the resume, but we have a whole rigorous process for all of our other hires.
So, okay, when it comes to working in social impact, there are quite a few myths, misconceptions, as some of you might know. So for this next set of statements, I want to do a little myth busting with you, Ami. But you can tell me if you think it's a myth. If you disagree, you can also tell me, our closest friends. And also feel free to elaborate. Okay, so the first one, you can't make money in social impact.
Well, it depends what you mean by make money, right? So you probably cannot get rich. You probably should not be aspiring to get rich. Although if you run the Ford Foundation, I think you're doing okay. So it depends what the job is, right? But there are plenty. Again, I think it also has to do with your career, your profession, what city you're at. Mm-hmm. But there are plenty of jobs that pay well. I mean, you don't have to be starving, and there's no reason to. But if your fundamental goal in life is to make money, probably not the right field.
Yeah.
Like a teacher, like a nurse, like you're not going to get rich by being a nurse.
Okay. I'm taking a look at your faces and seeing if
you can live well, but you're not going to get rich.
Okay. Second one, working in social impact only means working for a nonprofit or a charity.
No, I think you can. I mean, first of all, there are all these companies that are set up, B Corps and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And second, I think that you can work at a corporation and make a huge difference in people's lives. Like, it doesn't have to be a nonprofit. It doesn't have to be like mission driven. You can work for a company that is doing, I'll give you an extreme example. When Google solved search, 20 years ago, it was a pretty helpful thing to do, right? Like, it helped all of us that you could find stuff. Uh-huh. And so that's a pretty meaningful thing to do for the world. And plus they got rich. But anyway, you could also, so you could do that. But you don't have to be a nonprofit to do good.
Yeah. And I mean, the site is a testament to the variety of roles.
You can be a surgeon, you can, there are many ways to do good in the world.
Okay. So this is our last myth and my favorite one. In social impact, everyone is all smiles all the time.
I wish. No, of course not. It's a difficult sector. It's a challenging sector. I think one thing that is really important about the nonprofit sector is I think some people, you may have met a couple in your lives. Some people, for whatever reason, when they're younger, decide that they don't like money, that money is not a good thing. They don't want to pursue money. Money is weird. I don't want money in my life. And then they hear the word nonprofit, like, oh my God, there's a whole sector that is not about money. It's nonprofit, right? And that's like the biggest, funniest mistake you can make, because this sector is obsessed with money in a way that the for-profit world actually is not. If you work for a successful company, so there's one exception to that, just for a second. So in Wall Street, the product is money, right? So they talk about money because that's what they do, that's what they make. But if you work at a normal company, if you work at a car company, if you work at Google, you don't talk about money all day. You have paper clips. Otherwise the company would have gone bust a long time ago. They're doing okay, which is why they have a job for you. Nonprofits, the next grant, so nonprofits and academia, by the way, the next grant. So you end up with two sectors that people joined not for financial gain and end up thinking and talking about money all day.
Yeah.
And that can make some people really bitter, that this is not what this was supposed to be. I was supposed to be talking about the whales all day. Well, it turns out it's not just the whales, you got to make money. Yeah. And it's hard. So yeah, it can be challenging and frustrating. Yeah, sure.
So it is a complete myth. Sorry for people who are not aware. But so in spite of, all the things that are happening in the world right now, heartbreaking, atrocious events, why should all of us, especially in this room, still be idealists?
Oh, God, that's such a personal idealist. I don't know, idealistic, hopeful, because there's so much good out there too. I think one of the main issues that we have, I think, with the media, which is where we get our news, is that the media, of course, is all about exceptions, right? So if you take the most basic stuff, right? The media, when you open, the news in the morning, if an airplane crashes somewhere in the world, anywhere in the world, you'll read an airplane crashed in Indonesia, 139 people died, which, by the way, is an interesting decision, right? If an airplane crashes anywhere in the world, it'll be in every paper. 200,000 people die every day in the world. Mm-hmm. It's not clear why the death of those 129 in that way should depress all of us first thing in the morning, when it's so that's one thing. What you'll never see in the paper ever is 40,000 flights landed safely yesterday. And that could be the headline every day. And that, in fact, is the truth with a capital T. The truth with a capital T is that every day, about 45,000 scheduled flights land on time with no problem at all. That is a reality. The exception is that once a year, maybe a plane crashes. And this is true for everything. Most people today are living in a country at peace. Most people yesterday didn't get mugged. Right? And so the media, I think the news, and it's normal, the news is about exceptions, but it transforms how we all see the world, which is why when people say, Twitter is not real life, there's something very real about that. Like in most of our lives, most of the days, there is no violence, we're walking around safely. And so yes, horrible things are happening, but there's still so much good out there, so many good people and so much things to savor. And anyway, so.
Yeah, and I think I've been following a lot of your social media posts too, Ami, and I know you do a lot of these virtual calls and gatherings, and hundreds of people join, they carve out, I don't know, an hour of their day to spend time with you, and you bring that to people's feeds, essentially, because people are still hopeful and people are still looking out for each other and trying to solve whatever problem there is in their community. So definitely, the media does play a big role. But I think one of the things too that we are proponents of at Hueman Group Media is also being with each other. So how you spend your time outside of work influences the way you show up in the workplace, or, for a cause that you're passionate about. So I want to transition now to the after hours part of the podcast. So Ami,
yes,
if you weren't the executive director of Idealist, what would you be doing?
One of two things. I would be either writing, I would be a writer, or I would be defending animals somewhere. I would be defending elephants. I'd be deep in nature. I would not be living in the city. I'd be somewhere really far from everything, in like a nature, taking care of a lighthouse. Like, I don't, whatever. Like, seriously, like I see those things. There's this job, I think in Yosemite, a place like that, where you spend the winter there alone, shoveling the snow of like the huts, because they'll get crushed if there's too much snow on them. So you have to go out every day and like shovel the snow off, the houses. Like, I'd love to do that. I'd be doing that just quietly in the woods. Like, anyway.
So, well, you said the first one, the first of two jobs that you'll be doing if you weren't here, a real writer. If you were to write your own novel, what would be the chapter title of this stage in your life?
Oh my God. No, I was thinking more nonfiction, but like what?
Not.
Yeah, but a novel. I don't know. No one knows anything, I guess. I don't know. Like,
no one knows anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like, a good one.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
No one knows anything. Like,
I agree. I agree.
When I think about having children, like my daughters still think that like adults know stuff. Like, we don't know anything. Like, they'll find out.
So we have a theory, as I mentioned earlier, what you do outside of work, your hobbies, things that interest you, spending time with your family, loved ones, whatever fills your cup can influence how you show up in making the world a better place. With that being said, I will now play a game with you, Ami. So it's a lightning round of seemingly random questions. Are you ready to play?
I guess.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice. Okay, so if you had a catchphrase, what would it be?
Catchphrase? Like a no, I mean, like a tagline for myself?
Yes, I think that's it.
I don't
does
know.
anyone want to define what a catchphrase is? I think tagline, right?
Tagline. Sleep more. I don't know. I would really like. I've been sort of tired for 6 years, and I would love to sleep more. That's what's
Sleep more.
top
That's
of
your
mind
catchphrase.
right now. Yep.
Ami Dar, sleep more. Okay. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Karaoke song.
Yes.
Bohemian Rhapsody by far. Yeah.
The entire song. All the.
Well,
Yes.
yes, but yeah.
You know what's next, right, Ami?
Nope. No. That's not gonna happen. No.
It's not?
But, no.
If you
We
get
don't
more
do it-
sleep.
I'll do it together if you want, but it's not gonna happen.
Ooh, okay. I think we can do that. I don't know if anyone knows lyrics by heart, but we can try. But we're not recording.
I was about to.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you could.
Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna stop right there. Kill the man. Anyway, go good.
We're recording right now, Ami. Just so you know. Oh my God. Okay. What's something people would be surprised to learn about you?
No driving license. Never learned to drive. I mean, I sort of can probably drive, maybe, but never. It was never a thing in Manhattan. Don't have a car anyway. So to be my girlfriend or my wife, you have to drive. That's the thing.
Anyone here who shares that same fun fact?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Ami. Okay. You're the only one. Okay, so our final question.
I guess I have to learn.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
We put you on the spot. What is your go-to after-hours media? What have you been watching, reading, or listening to lately?
my daughter. I mean, like, seriously, it's very, very boring. And Matthew can tell you, like, I get up in the morning, I come here, I spend a day here with Matthew, and then I go home and I spend time with my daughter and my wife, and I crash. I mean, like, I wish my life had more content than that, but it doesn't, actually. It is basically work, my daughters, my wife. That's it. That's life.
So none of your daughters, I don't know, push you to watch something or like encourage
Yeah, I mean,
you?
I get my dose of Bluey and Peppa Pig and like whatever stuff, and I think I've watched Moana like 50 times and Ferdinand the Bull another 20 times, and yeah, so I've watched those, and like I know it by heart. But like movies for adults, I don't remember the last time I watched anything.
God.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay.
A while.
Well, that's the end of the lightning round.
Oh, okay.
Ami.
Now comes the thunder.
Now it's time for audience questions, since you guys have been patiently sitting here, nodding along, hopefully enjoying the conversation. We'd love to open it up for questions, thoughts. Actually, you don't need to ask a question, like just any insight. But yeah, Joy is here with a mic.
Who wants it?
Who wants to?
Anybody?
I wanted to know how you maintain the balance between executive presence and like an approachable demeanor, like especially culturally, whether it's just you or like everybody. How do you maintain that balance?
So I guess these days, until 6 years ago, this office was full of people working here, eating, laughing, etc. We had 3 remote staff, one in Spain, one in Canada, one in San Francisco. So we would have staff meetings in that room. We would all sit in a big U there with the 3 staff people on the wall. And so this idea of being hopefully approachable. I mean, we had lunch together every day. You see each other. How you do that on Zoom how you do that when people are not here? What does being approachable even mean? I mean, I did last month, we have a staff of 30, only 30. And of those 30 people, there are about 15 that I'm in touch with all the time for various reasons, more or less. And then about another 15 that I sort of never talk to, basically. They work for someone that works for me. Like I don't really talk to them one-on-one, or I see them in staff meetings. We have a weekly staff meeting that's sacred. We've had it for 20 years, every Wednesday at 1. But before, in the kitchen, I would eat with all of them every day. Now, so I had to decide, okay, I'm going to do this round of one-on-ones with everyone over a couple of days, because otherwise, when will I ask you by yourself, like, how are you? What do you want? What's up with life? You have to go and make it happen. It won't happen otherwise. So approachable, it's one thing to walk up to someone, but approachable, Slack, Zoom, like what is, I don't like it, as you can see. I'm one of those bosses that don't like the whole remote business. I understand why some people like it, but hybrid would be much better, but we can't do it. Of those 30 people, only 4 are left in New York. The rest dispersed everywhere. So we can't bring them in even if we wanted to. It's not possible anymore.
There are tens of thousands of jobs on Idealist over the course of its history and thousands of employers that you work with. What is one piece of advice that you would give employers in the impact sector to differentiate them, to treat their staff well, to be high road employers? Yeah.
So I'm not sure about advice. I think one wish, get back to people. For God's sake, get back to people. So the number so there's this really weird, annoying, interesting, sad, challenging thing, I think, in the sector. So we hear from lots of people who say, I apply for a job and I never hear back, right? And that's just really annoying. And I think what some people in the sector don't see is that people work for a nonprofit and they often complain about the way that funders treat them, right? We applied for a grant, we never heard back, they don't get back to us, whatever. And what people don't realize often until you tell them is that the power dynamics between you applying to a foundation for money and a person applying to you for a job, think about it, it's the identical dynamic. You even have to actually send an application in both cases and wait for an answer, right? And so the idea that the same person is complaining about this funder not getting back to them while not getting back to a job applicant and not seeing that they're actually doing exactly the same thing. So it's not, I'm not sure it's just like advice, but I wish that everyone, and it's funny, like it comes down to what your mom told you when you were a kid. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, I mean, if you're applying for a job, you'd want people to get back to you. So get back to those who apply to you. And it feels so minimal to me. I mean, get back to people. So that would be, I guess, the biggest piece of advice.
So I'm very interested in thinking about what are the leverage points that if you take an action, you're going to have the most possible impact with it. And so let's say you didn't have to talk about funding or money. If you had as much money as you wanted, who would you give it to? Or what would you build with it that would be like the highest leverage thing in your opinion?
Well, it depends. Honestly, it does depend obviously on how much money. There was this moment when Bloomberg was both mayor of New York and one of the richest people everywhere. And I think at the time, this was 15 years ago, I think the budget for the city was like 80 billion. and he was in an interview, and he said, I realize now, like as a philanthropist who's also the mayor, like $1 billion is not a lot of money. It's basically, an 80th of the budget of New York. Like if you want to change the world, even $1 billion like is not real money, right? Like it's just another like speck in the city. So when you say if you had all the money, what would you do with it? Interesting. So what we're trying to do right now with Idealist, like the next thing we're doing is trying to say, let's get much more action, more generosity, more community in the world by inviting people once a month to do something good. Like what if at least one day a month, we all did something good for the world, for each other, for our communities. And so I think that's like a high leverage thing, putting some money into that. Beyond that, I don't know. I mean, you get all the, education, pay teachers more. Yeah. Break some myths. It's interesting. I think that's extremely against popular culture in this country. Pay politicians more. The mayor of New York City makes, I think, like $350, $400. A congressman, I think, makes like $250. And like, these are pretty expensive jobs. You have to buy good clothes. You have to commute, right? And so if you want high quality leaders, actually got to pay them, right? Singapore does it. A few other places do it. But if you really want really high quality people to be in the cabinet, and not just millionaires, which is what ends up happening, right? People who can afford to run are the ones who run. So if you want actually, serious people in Congress, more than 3 or 4, it'd be great. Then you got to pay them. So I don't know, that's another place to put money. And teachers, of course. Starting with my wife. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. I don't think this is going to be like a hard question, but I think maybe an interesting one. Idealist's mission is interesting. To create more free and dignified lives for all people. And I was curious about the dignity part. Can you sort of talk about this moment in time and how it relates to people's lack of dignity, whether it's people losing jobs to AI or not being able to get jobs or all the different things going on. But yeah, could you just speak to that dignity part of that mission at our organization?
Matthew, with a small, simple question. What is dignity? So we, in the biggest, sometimes if people say, what do you guys do? Well, we try to connect good people with ways to do good. What's the vision here? Vision, I think, is a world where, all people can lead a free and dignified life. That's like at the highest level. Dignity, not having someone's, boot on your neck, obviously is a good start. But I think it goes way beyond that. I was flying, I was in an airport a few months ago around Christmas time. And I think it was somewhere in the Midwest. And I was walking down the airport, and in one of those little coffee places, they were making the servers, the baristas, wear these like really ugly sort of little Santa hats, right? And you're like, it'd be wonderful if the union, in addition to like fighting for a higher salary, would fight for like no fucking funny hats. We're not gonna wear the funny hats. We're done, basically. You wear the hat if you want. The CEO can wear the hat in his office. We're not wearing the hats. Take the damn hats off, right? So I think there's something there where like some McKinsey kid or some, CEO decided the baristas should wear little Santa hats. Like, no, you know what? We're not gonna wear the Santa hats. So I think dignity is there's all that stuff, like how we treat each other, how we get treated, being able to talk about these things. I think often, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent or not, but in a hotel, often I think that like, talk about bad jobs. I think being a sort of housekeeper in a hotel, just making beds all day, it's a pretty terrible job, right? Honestly. And you're just making one bed after the other. And then they come and they make your life harder. If you ever talk to, a housekeeper in a hotel, like they're working, she's working, they're working, and you will not watch television the television will be off, right? Or you will not speak to your friend while you're working. Like, buzz off. I'm making beds. Let me have a conversation if I want. Or let me put the soap opera on while I'm cleaning, right? So, and I'd love to see more. I'll just end with this. I as you can see, I can get angry sometimes. Again, like some little, group of 25-year-olds at McKinsey or some consultancies hired to decide how many rooms should the average housekeeper clean every day? And they do all this stuff and they watch like the optimal cleaner and they say, 11 rooms per day. And so the whole industry, if you don't clean 11, they'll fire you. And I wish those kids had the guts at the very end to lie and just write 9. Think of your mom. If your mom was a housekeeper, so you actually arrive at the conclusion that the optimal number is 11, just write 9 in the report. Who cares? Get all these people, let them relax a little bit. It doesn't have to be 11. So I don't know. I think there's something about how we treat each other. It's everything. It's just like living with a bit more grace and dignity. I don't know, in everything we do and how we treat each other and how we live our lives and how we work. How much does lowest paid person in your company, in your organization make? You can give them a 10% raise and the whole company won't actually feel it. Like, who cares? I don't know, stuff like that. Anyway, sorry for the rant, but I just,
I think final question.
I'm sure I'll hear him go.
All right. So end this on a high note. What's the single greatest joy you've had from witnessing someone's life that you affected through Idealist?
From Idealist, I thought, no, I was immediately going to say seeing my daughter being born and basically.
Well, that's a good one too.
Yeah, the greatest joy, most beautiful moment in my life, my wife walking in on the wedding day when she just walked in to the place and I had not seen her before. I mean, I hadn't seen the wedding dress before and I hadn't seen her up. So like, oh my God, what is that? That was awesome. So anyway, that's like a beautiful moment. In terms of Idealist, we get amazing stories every day of people who did something, found something. I think my favorite ones are when they emerge. I got a message on LinkedIn last week, a woman who said, 15 years ago, you changed my life because my husband and I went to Peru to volunteer and stayed for a year and our whole life has never been the same. And I had no idea. And she's like, 15 years ago, we did this. I didn't know. And that makes your day, obviously. So knowing there's more like that is great. But in the end, I don't know.
Well, that's the end of our Q&A
Thank you all.
and the end
I
of
have no
our
idea what I said,
recording. Ami, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank
and
you.
The after hours says you will sing Bohemian Rhapsody.
No. But I will thank you, our technical crew here, the
Yes.
Mats.
By the way, that's my husband.
Yep.
He's my co-founder, my chief creative officer. So I hope he also
for
gives
coming.
the same answer. Your answer about your wife walking
about
in.
my wife? No. Like,
We'll ask him
No.
later.
yeah. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody.